Okay, I'm here with Professor Michael Flores. This is a video for students in intermediate accounting. 310, I'm thinking about, what it takes to be successful in this course. This is a course where the workload gets real. We start to hit a pretty good pace, and I want students to be successful. And Professor Flores here is teaching the 410 course. And so I wanted to get a few minutes of his insight. What's going to make you successful? What's going to make you get to 410 and really be able to be successful there as well? So I want to kick it to you, Mike. Tell me, what are a couple of things that 310 students need to be thinking about right out of the gate as they step into this course?
Well, first, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this with y'all. Let me just say that this is foundational material upon which everything else is built upon. And so the material there at the beginning of the semester, especially as it relates to the accounting cycle, normal balances, debits, credits, adjusting, closing entries, all those things, it just seems like it is just another chapter. It's very, it's at the beginning of the semester, and you kind of think, well, I'm easing into things. And that is the absolute wrong approach. That is that material that you have a mastery, a command of, because the stuff that comes later is more complicated, more nuanced, more detail oriented. And you don't want to spend time trying to remember, well, is this account debit or credit? Or is this a temporary account, a permanent account? Or, what's the process? Because you're just adding layers upon layers of difficulty on something. You've just got, you've got to establish, and I can't think of a better word than mastery or command than this material. As Professor Hamlin's going through this, this is stuff that you're going to be asked repeatedly to rely upon to do the work. When you get into my 410 and 610 classes, you'll see every exam says comprehensive. And people are thinking, oh my goodness, it's comprehensive on stuff earlier in the semester. A little bit, maybe, not so much. It's mostly comprehensive into Accounting 310. Because if you are still struggling with having, like I said, I don't know my debits and credits. I mean, I had a young student, young person early this semester for the first test. I had a series of problems with series of journal entries in it, and they gave them to me perfectly. They were perfect in every respect, except they were reversed. And that's just devastating. So the very basic concepts of, how does the accounting cycle go? What are your four financial statements? In Professor Hamlin's class, you'll be covering the income statement and the balance sheet, especially as to assets. When they get into a 410, we're going to finish the balance sheet. But I'm not going to do a review. That's the other thing. And I doubt that Professor Hamlin's going to be doing a accounting cycle review with every new chapter where we're going to go back and cover debits and credits. No, it's going to be like, we're going to assume you have that. And so whether some of this comes down to whether it's you just get it, or literally, if you have to get flashcards, something, and put the basic accounting equation, you put normal balances, however you want to do that, and you get that done. You just get it done, and no one's going to care that you had flashcards. No one's going to care that you memorized it however you did. No one's going to care how we recognize everybody learns differently. And I guess my also experience, it tells me that those of you that had accounting in high school, that's a great thing. Don't rest on your laurels. That'll help you a little bit just to start, but In my experience, high school accounting helps you a little bit in accounting 210, a little bit in 220, but 310, we're kicking it up to the level of mastery, of command. And Professor Hamlin's going to expect that. The initial start of the semester in 310 is so critical.
Hmm.
You don't
Hmm.
really have time for an easy glide into it. It is really, really have to say, I've got to master this material. Otherwise, I'm going to be feeling cursed for the rest of my time, at least in the financial accounting series.
Indeed. Okay, well, I appreciate that insight. I can tell you this semester, I'm glad you brought up the high school accounting. Again, helpful, but A, it will have been a minute since you had it, and B, you're working in software now. You're going to have to acquire all of that in a very compressed amount of time in the first 2 or 3 weeks. We do hit the ground running. And so that is definitely very good wisdom, particularly from what I've been seeing this semester as well, Professor. So thank you for that. And so then now let's talk about what's the day to day need to look like. So, if I'm in high school and I'm taking accounting, or if I'm taking accounting 210, I get prepared the way I get prepared. How does that change as you get to 310, as you get to 410, to 610? How does my preparation change? What do I need to be doing as a student to be ready to be in class and to learn things in class?
Well, um, let me get my visual aid here. Um, everyone's experience could be different. I don't know. But I think some students have this concept of one and done, that I can get my book out, and don't get scared. This is both 310 and 410 together. So don't draw any conclusions, but this is so easy for me that I can read the chapter once and call it good. Or maybe I don't read the chapter at all. I look at the PowerPoints, maybe, or I watch the professor's video going over the text and the PowerPoints and call it good. For most folks, that's not enough. It's going to take more for you to get into the various nooks and crannies, the nuances of this material. We're here to help you, Professor Hamlin and I, but we're not here to do it for you. And so you've got to get into the material and immerse yourself. And especially as to assignments that we give you, for most folks, one and done doesn't work, where it's like, well, I'm just going to go through it once. And so I can't tell you what the magic number is, but it's definitely not zero. We got to do it. Um, and for most students, it's not one. Most students, it's you got to do it more than that. You've got to commit more time to get into the nooks and crannies of the homework assignments and think about why things are the way they are. It's not enough to just see the answer that Professor Hamlin and I provide you, but why is it the answer, and why is it the right answer? Um, because you don't have that kind of time on the test to ruminate. You've got to spend your time thinking about why things are the way they are before tests, before you're pressured. You've got to get that. And I'm sure Professor Hamill will be there to answer questions in class, as he goes through it. But if you haven't read the chapter, if you haven't even at least attempted the homework, you may not know enough to ask a question. You may not know what to ask.
So I think what I'm hearing is that we kick the pace up quite a bit, and you get really got to be present those first 2 3 weeks, really absorb that, really learn it. We got to think a lot about being prepared for class in a way that maybe we haven't had to in the past, but we have to now. We got to come ready to learn. Are there any kind of last overall thoughts from you in terms of how to get through 310, be successful in 310, and be ready for 410 and 610?
You've got Well, you hit the nail on the head, Professor. You've got to come to class. You've got to come to class regularly. You've got to come to class faithfully. If you don't come to class, if you don't come, then you're saying that you want to get everything you want out of this and this alone. And I'll say, look again how thick it is. So you can decide to come to class or not. But coming coming to class, failing to come to class regularly is almost heroic in a negative sense. It's not a good look for you. It's not going to be good for you. I mean, I understand people get sick, things. Do understand that, but your position has to be, I'm going to be in class every day. And really also to come back to a point you raised earlier, Professor, how do you prepare? Well, if you're an accounting major and you're in accounting 310, 410, 610, you can't touch that class once or twice a week. You can't just say, well, my studying for accounting 310 is just Monday, Wednesday, when in class, and that's it. You've got to touch that probably most every day. Most every day, you've got to do some stuff. Otherwise, you're going to get rusty. You're not immersing yourself enough. Look, if you've got other non-accounting classes that you want to take the foot off of the accelerator on, we can't can't tell you what to do, what not to do. But for accounting, you just can't do that. This is not a casual major. People tell you, oh, this is a great major, you get a great job. It is, and you will. But you've got to put the time in to master the material. Otherwise, you're just going to be struggling. So this is academic learning that we're providing, but subtly, covertly, we're also doing professional development. You just don't know it yet. You'll get it eventually, but it's professional development. And part of that professional development is mastery of the material. Look, the 310 material, especially the beginning material on the accounting cycle, the financial statements, the income statement, balance sheet, you're going to use that for the rest of your career. Some of the other items, when you get into accounting 410, well, there's a chapter on pensions. Are you going to get pensions in your work? Probably not. You still have to know something about it, but no. But every day, as an accountant, you're going to be using the introductory material out of 310, out of Professor Hallett. You just have to master that. Otherwise, you're walking around with your shoelaces tied. You just don't know it until you realize, why do I keep falling down? Well, there you go. I didn't learn how to tie my shoelaces right in the initial chapters of Accounting 310.
Indeed. And I can attest to this on a day-to-day basis. There would be times at Spirit, I was an accounting manager, but we got together as management. We have complicated problems, and I can't count the number of times we just go to our whiteboard and we throw T accounts up there. How's that? Okay, it's going to go there, and then it flows to there, and it flows to there, all the way up to Damon Ward, our controller. They show me the T accounts. That's the universal language, and that's what we're doing right out of the gate in 310. Those are the basics, and that's what we need to know.
I use journal entries when talking to the board, the folks at Ascension Via Christi. And, I can tell you, I'm the AGH Faculty Fellow. The AGH partners will whip out pencil and paper and do T accounts to flow things. You want to ask them about nuanced questions about the industry you're working at. I don't understand what's happening or how this flows at Spirit, or how this flows at Ascension Via Christi, or how this flows at AGH, or how those are good, okay, fine questions. But to come in and say, you know what, I'm not good with this whole debit and credit thing. I'm a little hazy. What's an adjusting journal entry? I'm not sure. Bank reconciliation, what? I don't, no. Those are some things that, that those are not, it's not a good look for you. And those are the things that I'll bet Professor Hamlin would probably admit to, that when it came down to who do you keep and who do you not keep, Well, those kind of interactions don't do you any favors.
And I'll add one more thing onto that as well. As you're wrestling with these concepts, if you're one that asks those questions, you notice something is not quite right. Does it bother you that it doesn't work? Does it bother you enough that you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep digging, you keep asking questions? And that's going to be key in this course as well, because it doesn't always make sense the first time, but just keep after it, right?
Well, and it's actually in my syllabi for the 410 and 610 that a measure of being a successful accountant is being stubborn. I've got a problem. I'm not just going to roll over and say, well, I don't know. I'm just going to sit there and really dig into it. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to persevere. To some extent, you kind of make this personal. Look, I'm getting honked off that I can't figure this out. That where how this thing flows. Some of the information flows in and out of the account. Well, how's that happen? Where's it coming from? Where's it going? I need to, you want to have that position of I want to learn. I need to learn how to get this. Um, I firmly believe if you invest the time, it will get better. I think
Indeed.
you will start acquiring those skills and worldviews that will really serve you well going forward. This is a technical topic that it's not impossible to master, but it requires investment of your time and talents to get into the meat, into the details, so that you can start solving these things and seeing things through. We're being able to work it forwards and backwards. That's life.
Oh boy, yeah, and that's real life right there at Spirit. You're not going to get a nice this plus this plus this equals that. Sometimes you're missing the thing that goes in that spot, and you have to reverse engineer it in SAP. And then you got to follow the string and find the missing piece of data. It's a great exercise in problem solving, and I got to tell you, the thing you want to chase is the feeling of getting to the other side of figuring that out. It is very satisfying and you're going to want more. And so I think to wrap up, thank you very much, Professor Flores, for all the insights here. I think there's a lot here. And thanks again for taking the time out to help us all be successful as beginning financial accountants.
All right. Well, I'm glad to help. And again, whether you like it or not, you're stuck with me in 410 and 610 anyway. So now you know who I am.
Right on. Okay, that sounds great. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Be safe, y'all.